Thanks for tuning into this very special broadcast. I am at the shop floor of a company that is making the whole or the part of the structure that you would have seen, a Bell helicopter. I've never seen a facility like this. And the man who's painstakingly built this, or if I'm not wrong, 39 years, Udayant Malhoutra, with me here at the shop floor of Dynamatic. Udayant, great having you.
Hi, pleasure indeed.
It's been an absolute delight watching what is a very state-of-the-art facility. Just before we get to the nooks and corners, what is this? Can you just tell us?
Okay, this is the fuselage of the Bell 407, which is the world's largest selling helicopter. We make 1,600 parts that go into this, and then we do the assembly of these major structures that form the fuselage of this remarkable helicopter.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Now, viewers, I want to tell you, as much as it seems to me that I'm in a complete aerospace facility, Dynamatic is a lot more than that. So, Udayant, just tell us a bit about Dynamatic, because as I learn, you're doing three things in your business, right? There is hydraulics for tractors and others. There is metallurgy division, and there is aerospace. Yeah. So tell us a bit about Dynamatic.
So our hydraulic division is the world's largest manufacturer of hydraulic gear pumps, which creates the pressure that you need in a hydraulic system. Our largest market is agricultural tractors, but also construction equipment like bulldozers, drill rigs, cranes, excavators, and even battle tanks. And while we are a very large manufacturer of hydraulic gear pumps, we are now in the next 5 and 10 years increasing our wallet share by making valves and systems for the same customers. Okay. So we intend to move using the market share that we have, which is very large, and increasing our share of the market to grow the business.
Okay.
A share of the wallet.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. The second business that you talked about is metallurgy. We had 3 foundries, 2 in India, 1 in Germany. We divested of the foundries in India. We've retained the German foundry, which largely caters to the best German automotive industries. But we are now segueing that into aerospace and defense. And that's why we retained that particular facility.
Okay. So
and the third business,
you move out of then the auto piece per se, or do you?
So the Indian foundries were completely automotive, which we divested. We've retained the German foundry, which is a very fine foundry with a great history. And in the next few years, we are segueing its capacity and its capability to making aerospace and defense products right in the heartland of Europe, where there are shortages right now.
So you do auto, aerospace, and defense, all 3 out of that foundry.
Out of that, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And the third, the sexy looking one.
Well, this was actually my childhood passion. I was a hobbyist, and in a little garage behind the hydraulic pump factory in the early 90s, we started making aero structures as a developmental partner, first for DRDO, then HAL. We learned a lot from them. In fact, I'd like to say that I'm a child of HAL, but in the private sector. And we then developed a global footprint, making products for Airbus, Bell, Boeing, Dassault, some of the best companies in the world.
Wow. Okay. So I want to go a broad brush first before I talk about the specifics, Udayant. So from the, just give us a sense of, based on either revenue or order book or both, where do each of these 3 divisions stand in your overall setup? And your past shows that you build the business not with a 1-year, 2-year target in mind, but a longer term horizon in mind.
Yeah.
So I'm presuming that's what your view is right now as well. So what is the current, and what is your view, say 3 years out, 5 years out, or till the end of the decade for each of these 3?
Okay, so it's really interesting. There are 3 ways to look at time. One is, of course, time in relation to yourself. I was much younger earlier, so I had longer time frames to look at. I'm older now, so I'm obviously closer to the latter part of my career than I was 30 years ago. The second part of it is also harvest. You build a business for 20, 30 years, and suddenly opportunities for harvest, for much bigger things come, because these businesses take a lot of time to build.
Okay.
So what we've done is we built a really fine, world-class aerospace business where we are a global tier one with engineering capability to the best companies in the world. We are the first winner of Airbus's Global Sustainability Award. We are last year's Boeing Supplier of the Year award. These are global awards. And we've been Bell Helicopter's Best Global Supplier. So what you've done is you've created excellence where your customers appreciate the quality of work and rigor of what you do. And therefore, once you have that, you're able to broaden your market. And that's where we are now. So when I say harvest, it doesn't mean harvesting as in, taking more value, but you suddenly have more opportunities than you had earlier. It takes a long time for a tree to grow, a good tree, and then suddenly you have the harvest, and then you're able to multiply it in a much faster way. And that's where we are now in aerospace.
Okay.
In the metallurgy business, it's really about taking a business that was much larger. We took our automotive business that we built, we divested out of it. We were making engine products, and we obviously saw the electrification of the industry. So we sold the Indian auto parts, engine parts business to people who wanted it. We kept the German piece because of the skill sets and took what was a 100 million euro business, shrunk it to half, to 50 million. We've got latent capacity, which we're right now using to build a ground up aerospace and defense business.
Okay.
So that's where we are. Now, if you take the metallurgy business, probably in the next 2-3 years, you'll have a very nice aerospace defense metallurgy business coming out of that. If you take our hydraulics business, as we go from market share to wallet share, you can look at a roughly 500 crore business that should be able to double in the next 5 years and then double again 5 years later. So you're in a nice position where you have a good reputation, you have a good market share, and you just need to increase your share of the wallet. The real interesting thing is here in aerospace, because aerospace itself is in a moment of turbulence across the world. Supply chains are really hit, and there are, it's almost like a flight to quality where the major OEMs are seeking to give their best suppliers more and more work share. And we are one of their best suppliers, so we're in a good place.
Wow. Okay. So if I can put it into some numbers, where is it, either order book or revenue, as you deem fit? Where are we right now? Where we will be in 5 years' time?
Okay. So you saw when we walked around the existing business of aerospace. We have an existing business, roughly 500 crores a year. We have an order book which should enable us in the next 30 months to double that.
Okay.
And as we walk around, we'll show you the industrialization that's going on right now. 20% of the people you see at the plant are actually not working on our current business, they're working on the expansion. Because this business requires a certain period of time to fructify.
Okay. So that's regards to aerospace. You mentioned a bit about the hydraulics business, the metallurgy piece, which is, as per some analysts, been a recent drag on your business.
Yes.
You're saying that will turn around in 2-3 years, or not turn around really, but look completely different in 2-3 years.
It'll look completely different, but you know, there are many wars going on. So when you have a foundry in the heart of Germany, you're actually a potential supplier of some incredible products to NATO. So we're in the right time, right place there, and you'll see a much quicker improvement in the business. When we talk about transformation, it's not just a financial transformation. It is like what you see here, an automotive business with a little garage that is now an aerospace business with some other stuff, right?
Okay.
So I think that's what's going to happen there as well.
Got it. So aerospace, let's say the book to bill must be looking incredibly attractive.
Yes.
How do execution timelines work with something like this? Do you hit a J curve at some point of time immediately, and does that J curve continue for the next decade?
So if you see the business we have, this is a stable business. What we build for Airbus, Boeing, Bell helicopter. But what we are going to have in the next 24 to 30 months is the start of production of major fuselage structures for Deutsch aircraft, for Dassault aircraft. These are large fuselage structures, similar to what you see there for the helicopter, but these are for aircraft. And then you'll also see the kicking in of Airbus doors in sometime starting the end of next year.
Okay, end of FY26 you're saying?
End of next calendar year.
Okay, December
we'll start
2025.
what you call the first article, and then the year after you start the ramp up.
Okay.
So then it becomes very steep. And that literally in 30 months, we should be able to double the scale of our aerospace business.
Great.
What we've taken 30 years to build, we can double in the next 30 months. So that may be a J curve.
And then the curve continues, is my question.
There's more and more coming. So
there's more and more coming.
They'll keep coming.
Okay. So when I hear you speak about all of these things, for all the three things, in hydraulics, you are increasing the wallet share. In metallurgy, you are making a pivot or a segue, as you called it. And in aerospace, with all the fine things that you're doing, are all of these things gonna enable you to up your margin game as well? Because I can see revenue growth, as you're saying. Does this happen with better margins, better return ratios? Can you talk a bit about that?
So the interesting thing is, let's look at each of the businesses. In metallurgy, we are operating at half our latent capacity because we willfully shrunk the business.
Right.
The latent capacity is required for us to develop the aerospace and defense part of the casting business, which is inherently more profitable than the automotive business with no capex. So the same amount of capital employed will just generate a better return on capital employed in the metallurgy business, right? So that's part of it. The second part of it is the hydraulics business, where per tractor, if you're selling 4,000 rupees of hydraulic pump, there's an addressable market of another 25,000-30,000 rupees of hydraulic products, including the power steering, the hitch lift, the hydraulic valves, that we can address, where with the same customer relationships, which are extraordinary and deep and old, we can increase our share of the wallet, we can innovate for the customer, and we can create value for ourselves. And in the aerospace business, you can see this campus and all our other facilities that have been, because obviously the passion has been always for aerospace, it is where you will get the greatest amount of ability to monetize the capital already employed. So your operating leverage will be incredible as you increase volume.
Okay. By incredible, I mean, I'm not asking for a formal guidance, but the last question.
But I'll give you a simple example. Yeah. We pretty much have all the employees we require for double the volume.
Okay.
We have the land and buildings for double the volume. We don't have the throughput yet, but we don't have to build one more hangar, and we don't have to add anything. The capital is already employed, and as you will see, we're already setting and calibrating the jigs for that production. So the cost is already absorbed in our current volume of production, but you will have a greater volume of production, let's say starting end of next year.
We are at the shop floor of Dynamatic Technologies in the, I believe, the aerospace vertical.
Yes.
And the color, as you told me, suggests that this is a Dassault piece.
Yes.
And we had spoken about it about a year ago when you won that large order.
Yes.
Right? It's important, Udayant, to highlight this because you won that order many months ago. I think it takes time to develop things for the aerospace orders.
Yes, this actually feeds into your earlier question about a tail and how long it takes you to ramp up. When we spoke last year, we just got this award. And in fact, the color is a Dassault color. These jigs are part of our engineering. We manufacture these jigs for producing the aerostructures that we're going to deliver. We're actually going to deliver our first aerostructure in time for Christmas.
Okay.
And then we start ramping up in the early part of next year and go into full production of the rare fuel tank of their latest business jet, the Dassault 6X. And we're going to be making a lot of major fuselage structures for Dassault, and this is the very first one. So there are thousands of parts that we are building for them. We engineer and build jigs and tools for them, and then we do the final assembly of major structures for them. And it therefore takes you about 18 months of engineering work before you start seeing revenues. But then once you start seeing revenues, these have a very long tenure, because typically it's a life of aircraft program.
Wow. Okay. And do you stand to then increase the wallet share with such orders
Absolutely,
as well?
absolutely. So this is just the first of many assemblies for Dassault. So they have the 6X, they have the 8X, and they have a new aircraft called the 10X, which is going to come out. They're different aircraft with different missions. And so they, in parallel, it roughly should be between 45 and 50 business jets a year. And these are fairly large aerostructures compared to what we were doing in the past. So when you talk about a flap rack beam, we may have a ship set and we may make it for 800 aircraft. Here you may make it for a lower number, but it's a much larger bite.
Got it.
It's a large aircraft piece.
Okay. Okay. And because the ordering for both commercial and defense aircrafts has seemingly gone through the roof. I know you gave this cautionary tale about why, for example, that one should be cautious about the supply chain issues as well. But where do you think the bent of Dynamatic would be? Would it, over the next 5-7 years, if everything goes well, would you be supplying more parts for commercial aircrafts, or would you be supplying more parts for defense?
That's actually a great question. For the last 2 decades, we've assiduously tried to be half and half.
Okay.
And because for us, it's aircraft is boom and bust. So when you have civilian aircraft, you usually have low military sales. And when you have low civilian aircraft sales, you have high military sales. They're counter-cyclical. So we've always tried to be well balanced. So we're a sole supplier to Boeing Defense, and we're sole supplier to Airbus Commercial. And they've kept each other healthy in our line. And we'll continue to do something like that.
Okay. So 50-50 odd.
That's our target.
That's your target.
Yeah.
And you, okay. Let's assume you meet your target.
And we've always been roughly 45, 55, somewhere close to it.
Okay. And so is that a sweet spot from return ratios, margins, etc., one perspective, and also from the need for future capex, as well as whether you because I heard you say earlier that you have enough capacities now to double, but I'm sure you're not looking at just doubling, you're looking at things beyond.
Yeah,
that.
so actually if you see this land area here, we can build 1.5 million square feet. We built 250,000 square feet.
Okay.
So we can add another 1 million. But for the orders in hand, we don't have to add another square inch. We have got enough land and building built up with the workforce ready to do what we need for these programs, which are the doors for Airbus A220, for the Dassault and the Deutsche aircraft that we've got. So these are the jigs that have come in from North America for the A220 doors. And what you see is a unique order that we have for all variants of A220 doors from Airbus. So for passenger doors, service doors, emergency exit doors, and cargo doors. So it's actually a very unique capability insertion into India by Airbus via Dynamatic. So we would become not just what we are, a center of excellence for flap rack beams, but you become a center of excellence, global center of excellence for aircraft doors.
What preps go behind getting these exclusivities? Because I'm sure it's years of hard work. Now, how easy or difficult would it be for others to replicate what you've done, both in terms of building of capacity as well as signing up of contracts like these, which are exclusive?
So, along with so in aerospace business, there's very high engineering capability required. There's very high craftsmanship required. I mean, the whole idea of the word aircraft, people think of it as an engineered product, but it's also crafted. And you need to have a very high quality engineering team. You need to have a very high quality set of workforce that is not just workers, but actually craftsmen, which is what we've got. The third very important element is the entrepreneurial trust that a company that's your customer has with the supply chain. this business is a very long relationship business. It's not transactional. So handshakes mean everything here. It starts with a handshake, it ends with a handshake, it's always with a handshake, and you have contracts in between. And you always keep your word, because in this business, there's no scope for a mistake already.
Okay, so but one would reckon that, say, end FY26, beginning FY27 is when we start to see the turn around the return ratios and margins for the aerospace division, because that's where a large portion of your deliveries start kicking in.
So,
would that be a fair assessment?
So in the year 26, calendar year 26, which is 26, 27, you don't have to wait to the end of the year, but that's when you really see this.
Right, calendar year 26.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Just last couple of questions. This, this...
Say about 30 months from now, you'll be flying.
But in 30 months, you anyway said that you will double your aerospace
That's
numbers.
why I'm saying you'll be flying then.
Okay.
You'll be producing with the same number of people twice as much.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. And this 100% FDI in MRO, what does it mean, if anything?
I think the MRO business is nascent in India. There are two parts to MRO. There's the civilian MRO. A lot of our aircraft, all our aircraft pretty much go to Singapore and Dubai to get serviced. And going forward, you will need all this big investment by Indigo, by Air India, by Akasa, needs to have a home base to be serviced. That's the commercial side. Then there's also the military side. You have helicopters, fighters, transport aircraft. It's a huge market for maintenance, repair, overhaul.
Okay. You plan to get into that at all?
Well, as a manufacturer, MRO cannot exist without manufacturers, and certainly we will be partnering with service providers.
Right.
And we should be an integral part of an MRO chain as a manufacturing partner along with everything. So that's all going to be there.
Okay. And my final question, you doing high precision engineering as spare parts for large products. Any thought of further deepening via backward integration or trying to fly higher via forward integration, as the case may be?
So these are not spare parts. These are actually all OEM going into the,
exactly.
But as products. So we started making parts, then made small assemblies. Now we make major assemblies. Of course, the ambition is always to offer country like India and entrepreneurs like us is for us to build aircraft in India. And that's certainly the ambition.
You do have that.
Of course. And you've seen the runway access we have here. We have runway access to an Air Force base of our land.
Okay.
So we have that, and it's designed for the future.
Both commercial and...
Not big
defense.
Commercial, small
commercial and defense.
Yes, regional, defense, helicopters. Whatever marketplace that exists in India will offer us. You've seen the entire airframe of a helicopter being built here. To put a final assembly line is just 5 more stations. You have to integrate the engine, transmission, avionics, interiors, flight test, and fly it out.
Well, we wish you all the best for that and more.
Yeah.
But it was fabulous talking to you today. Thank you so much, Udayant, for having us in your world-class facility, and all the best for the future.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be with NDTV.
Yeah, and viewers, thanks for tuning in to a conversation from a very different and a swanky shop floor. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.